So I have a confession to make. I am fully, and I already knew this, and obviously, I mean, it probably seems like low-hanging fruit to the masses listening in here to Nuanez now. But I for sure have a basketball addiction. And I have been jonesing like never before. I've always, obviously, I mean, it's so redundant to say, but I've always loved watching sports. That's why my entire life revolves around watching sports and talking about them on the radio and writing about them on Skyline Sports. But I will say, because of just the circumstances of my life, we had a new baby in January. Certainly has slowed me down on a personal level a ton. And that has been an utter joy. It's been unbelievable to just slow down and I'm a go some more guy. I have to grind myself into dust. I actually usually have to take the last 2 weeks of the calendar year off every year because I'm just so tired from going so hard during football. But this winter into spring, I spent more time than ever before watching basketball. I've always watched basketball, especially at the peak times. Certainly I always followed the Big Sky Conference. Certainly I always followed the NCAA tournament. But, you know, when you got a little guy at home, there's literally no go watching the game down at the sports bar or whatever. It's just, you know, hanging out at home with the babe, which is awesome. It's great. And, you know, my wife's really into basketball, so we watched more Mountain West and Big Sky basketball this year, probably than I've ever watched. I've never really followed another conference other than the Big Sky like I did the Mountain West. Certainly watched the NCAA tournament more intensively and more intentionally than ever before. Again, always watched it, but never like this. So much of it was having a friend of the show and a favorite Montanan and Danny Sprinkle leading the way there at Utah State. It was so fun to see what he could do with the University of Washington as well. Not only was he a great coach and a great figure on this show during his 4 years as head coach at Montana State, but he's a Montana basketball icon. He's a great player at Montana State in the mid-'90s, and he's just always been one of Montana's favorite sons, and I think everybody, no matter what side of the rivalry you're on, is proud that Danny Sprinkle is a hell of a Montana boy, and he's doing it with Montana values on the big stage. So that certainly gave us an entry point, along with the life circumstance. And then this NBA playoffs has been very much the same. I've also been totally transfixed by this NBA playoffs for a variety of reasons. First of all, it's so fun to see how the NBA has evolved. It's so fun to see the rise of sort of this next generation, led by guys like Luka Doncic and Jason Tatum, who will be the leading characters in this upcoming NBA Finals. That's all to say that the Eastern Conference Finals was boom, boom, bam, thank you, ma'am. It was just in and out. It was a sweep, and the Celtics have been chilling for what seems like an eternity. The Mavs got through Minnesota pretty easily as well. So we had an elongated break. And even though it's only been, I don't even know, I think it's probably only been like a week, maybe less than a week, since the last NBA playoff game, it feels like it's been forever. It's been in the rhythm of, what are you doing tonight? Go home, go make some dinner, go watch some hoops. So, that's all to say. The NBA Finals starts tomorrow, and I can't wait. We're going to continue our NBA Finals conversation from yesterday because we kind of got jammed up and didn't get to get that much of it in. We also have some fun guests today. A regular contributor, Mike Anderson, our Stanley Cup playoffs aficionado. He will join us in studio at 4:30. Also very excited for the Stanley Cup. I think that for the first time in a long time, I think we do have two of the best teams. Maybe not the two best teams, but I'd say two of the 3 or 4 best teams in the NHL. Florida has certainly been one of the 2 best teams in the NHL the last 2 years. They were in the Cup last year as well, before falling to Las Vegas. And the Oilers, a traditional power, a team that had great history and great prestige in the 1980s. Obviously, the original franchise of the great one, Wayne Gretzky, who won 4 Stanley Cups in Edmonton. They capped on a 5th one after Wayne Gretzky had left. But it's been a drought, not only for the Oilers, but for the entire Canadian part of the NHL. And certainly there's more national teams in the NHL than any other American sport. Canada's a hockey crazy country, so I think it's cool that Edmonton's Mike Anderson will help us break it down. We also got some free wings put in about 4:30 coming up here in the show. Presented by the Desperado Sports Tavern Grill. And then out over two couple more great guests. Our ESPN Roundtable guest this week is Ken Hasley. He's the athletic director at the University of Montana. We talk all things Grizz athletics, sort of a year in review, as well as just the state of affairs in college athletics and what that means for the University of Montana. Very generous of Kent to sit down with me earlier today. Conversation's about a half an hour long, and I certainly think you're going to enjoy it and be enlightened by it. And then we'll follow up with one of the great athletes, period, in the state of Montana right now. Nathan Neal is a young man that continues to impress and defy expectations. His expectations are so high, yet he keeps shattering them. He keeps on moving up. Set 2 all-class state records at the state track and field championships, I guess 2 weeks ago now, in Great Falls, in the 1,600 meters and 3,200 meters. Then the Bozeman High senior, now about to be Bozeman High graduate. He then goes out and runs nearly a 4-minute flat mile, just about 7/100ths of a second over a 4-minute mile. And I won't be surprised if he gets under that 4 minutes before the summer is over. But certainly an impressive distance runner, the latest in a long line of impressive distance runners to come out of Bozeman and to come out of Bozeman High School. And he'll be our guest as our senior spotlight, at least one of our senior spotlights this week at 5:30. So stay tuned for that as well. If you want to stream the show, you always can, 1029ESPN.com. You can also always use the ESPN MT app. If you'd like to be a part of the show, 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. And you can call or text that number at any time, but particularly remember that number when we're giving you some free wings from the Desperado Sports Tavern Grill. It's Wednesday like it is every Wednesday here on Nuanez Now. Also remember that number right now. Text it. We got free coffee for you. Foreign Coffee Company. Foreign Company has kiosks all around the state of Montana. 406-888-1029. If you want a $10 gift card to Floco. They have 2 locations here in the city of Missoula that are open late, one on Brook Street and one on South Reserve. So go check those out. Both of them open until 8 p.m. So if you need a cup of Joe to help yourself stay up late, South Reserve and Brook Street. If you want free Floco, right now, 406-888-1029. I have a silly question to start with before we get into the nuts and bolts of this NBA playoffs. First of all, Andrew, thanks for being here, man. Appreciate it. Andrew Hoffman on the other side of the glass, our producer and program director here at ESPN Montana. I actually meant to ask you this last week, and then we kind of got jumbled up, and I didn't have time to do it. But Alex Rodriguez, who's a minority owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves, he was sitting courtside for most of the T-Wolves games. He's very, very pumped up about their performances when they were playing well. He was also sort of distraught when they weren't. When they won Game 4 to extend the series against the Mavericks, he was all sorts of pumped up, and he was like pumping up Anthony Edwards. That was the third different interaction I saw him have with Anthony Edwards. It was so funny to really think about, because if you were of any sort of conscious mind when Alex Rodriguez was in his prime, you absolutely know who Alex Rodriguez is. He not only was, sort of the man who redefined what big money is in professional sports. I mean, he got his 10-year, $250 million contract. That literally blew people's minds. That's like just sort of the middle of the road for superstar athletes now, less than 20 years later. But it blew people's minds when he got 10 years, $250 million to go to the Texas Rangers. Also, he was just a gigantic superstar, riddled with controversy. And he was sort of a crossover star, too, because he had several very famous girlfriends. So everybody of a certain age knows who A-Rod is. I don't know, though, it was so weird to see Anthony Edwards interacting with him, because it wasn't like this reverence for this fellow great athlete who's an elder. It almost seemed like Anthony Edwards had very little idea who Alex Rodriguez is. I know he knows he's a minority owner, but I was just thinking, do these guys, is there enough separation? Like, the examples I thought of were Luka Doncic, who right now is the star of the Dallas Mavericks. He's 24 years old. Does he have any knowledge of Michael Irvin? The other one I thought of was Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They're both in their mid-20s. Do they know anything about, Manny Ramirez and David Ortiz or, great Bruins players? I don't know. It's just funny. I again, Anthony Edwards is a kid. He's 22 years old. Like when Alex Rodriguez is probably retired since before Anthony Edwards was even in high school. But like, do you think that guys like Luka know who like the playmaker is?
Yeah, it depends in large part on the younger athlete who it is. Luka Doncic has no idea who Michael Irvin is. Zero clue.
Well, right, because Michael Irvin was absolutely for sure retired before Luka was even like
nothing to do
born.
with Michael Irvin. I don't
Right.
Luka Doncic could name any NFL player, period, who's playing now. Does he know who Dak Prescott is?
I bet you he does, just because they probably like cross paths. I don't know though. My impression of looking at Doncic is that he does literally nothing besides play basketball.
Right? Does he know who? I mean,
he talked about that with Kyrie Irving. Somebody asked him like, what kind of contributions has Kyrie made? Like, well, most of them are to my life. Like, Kyrie's convinced me that I should go out to dinner and have friends and like read books and drink wine and do things that aren't just basketball. So maybe Luka doesn't know Dak Prescott. That would be something.
Yeah, it also depends in general a little bit on the identity of the older athlete. I'm not so sure that Anthony Edwards doesn't know who Alex Rodriguez is, except that just Alex Rodriguez is extremely corny. And he doesn't want to interact with him.
It's so true. Like, the corniest part about Alex Rodriguez is that he has no idea he's corny. That's been like the disconnect the whole time.
Yeah, or he's been that way for so long that he's just absorbed it,
For sure.
It's just he doesn't even think about it anymore.
Yeah, it's wild.
But Jason Tatum knows who David Ortiz is. Yeah, yeah.
The Boston sort of symbiotic environment is I think probably more infiltrating than others, right? Because Boston has arguably among, if not the most passionate sort of collective group of sports fans. They both also had arguably the best quarter century in the history, like little group in pro sports. Certainly the best of the modern era. The last 25 years has been belonged to Boston, certainly, with 6 Super Bowls and 3 World Series and at least one title, and been to the finals multiple times in the NBA. And I think it's kind of it like infiltrates you more in Boston than maybe anywhere else. Like, it's like almost a requirement that you know about the legends of the past.
That's hard to escape because those guys, there's presumably statues of them all over the city and everything.
Right. And there's also a huge disconnect because Alex Rodriguez has literally nothing to do with Minnesota besides that he bought a part of the Timberwolves with his massive amounts of money. Like, Alex Rodriguez is from Miami, correct?
Yes.
And he played in New York, he played in Seattle. He had no connection to Minnesota whatsoever, except for maybe the 12 games he played there each season during his American League time. I guess he always played in the American League, but during his career.
Yeah, I guess I would say that generally the Euros know nobody. I don't think Nikola Jokic knows who any of these guys are.
Oh, Jokic knows who nobody is. I don't even know if Jokic knows who like anybody in the NBA is.
Right.
Like, he knows who Rudy Gobert is or whatever, but like I don't know if he knows like a lot of players. Be like, hey, give me some thoughts on Luke Dort. He'd be like, who? Like, tell me what you think of Zach LaVine. I think nothing of Zach LaVine is what he would say. That's actually a hilarious point.
I think Giannis is the same way, but yeah, I mean, I think like any mid-20s American guy who's grown up playing sports probably has a pretty decent knowledge of who these guys are. I don't know. It's an interesting question.
It just goes back to our constant exercise of like legends fading, and it's re-emphasizing to me that legends always fade in certain elements. Like they stay in the consciousness to a certain extent. Like, I just wonder when is this going to happen? Like, I was thinking about this with Bill Walton's death. Bill Walton, to like the vast majority of people listening to this show, is just a zany, quirky TV broadcaster who wears tie-dye shirts and goes to Grateful Dead concerts. Like, I don't remember how good he was at basketball because he hasn't actually been legitimately elite at basketball in almost 50 years. I just wonder, it's just so interesting to see how like legends fade. Like my nephews, for example, have no idea that Charles Barkley was a great power forward. They just think he's a funny guy on TV. It's just interesting the way that some of these things change.
Yeah, it's interesting that you might want to, the players who resonate with the fans more are going to be treated more kindly, sort of as the years pass by, right? You'd almost rather if you're thinking about your legacy after your career is over, you'd almost rather have that relationship with the fans rather than having like respect from your being remembered among your fellow players more than anything, right?
For
Because
sure.
the fans are the ones that are actually going to remember in the future.
Yeah. When I was down at ESPN Radio, one of our loyal listeners dropped off a whole bunch of baseball cards that I've been sort of slowly going through them. One of the boxes had rookie cards for Derek Jeter, Carlos Delgado, and Manny Ramirez. And I was thinking to myself, I loved Man Ram as much as anybody. He was, at one point in time, my second favorite Cleveland Indian behind only Albert Bell. And then when Albert Bell went to the White Sox, Manny Ramirez was my favorite Cleveland Indian. I loved Manny Ramirez. And even when he went to Boston. And I was thinking about how Manny Ramirez, as much as anybody in that generation, there's so many guys that were so maligned in that generation. Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, Rafael Palmeiro, guys that got popped for steroids or implicated in steroids one way or the other. And even if that tarnished their reputation, so many of them have come back around on the other side. And for whatever reason, Manny Ramirez has not. And it's very sad to me because if you were to ask me, like, Colton, who's the best right-handed hitter of your generation, he would at least be on the list. And it's wild that he's been sort of buried like he has. I think part of that just comes from he had sort of a surly reputation with the public and the media before any of that stuff went down. Then he got in trouble, and then he sort of tripled down, and then like his last bad drug test with the Dodgers, he was like, well, I'm not doing my suspension. I'm just going to move away. Move out of the country. So, I don't know, is there anybody else that's legend has been sort of misremembered as much as Manny Ramirez?
Ooh, from that generation, that's a...
Because you think, like, Big Poppy, even with his steroid allegations and involvement and whatever, he's still beloved. And he's back on TV, he's an analyst. Like, the Boston Red Sox faithful love him. They love all those guys, Papelbon and all these guys. Not Randall, not Ramirez.
Well, like you said, I mean, the last memory that anybody has of Manny Ramirez is not the young guy who had the best bat speed in the league, who was just completely terrifying American League pitchers, who was a really great charismatic player in both Cleveland and Boston, but the old kind of chubby guy who, like you mentioned, tried to hang on with the Dodgers, got popped for a third time, went to Korea, like you kept getting stories about Manny Ramirez that were bad stories every 6 months as he tried to hang on for a couple years. Like, oh, now Manny's going over to Korea. Doesn't he know enough just to hang it up? And that sort of tarnished, I think, everybody's memory of it. I mean, you could argue that A-Rod was never that cool, but A-Rod's reputation,
right?
He got suspended officially as well, right? Like a lot of, I mean, David Ortiz never got suspended, right? He was named in the report. There was that grace period. A-Rod was suspended for a full year.
Right.
And, again, A-Rod, what everybody remembers him is him trying to chase the 600 home runs and just hanging on and sort of making a fool of himself.
Right. No, that's not how he's doing it. All right, Sex NBA Files. Here is your statistical review. We went over some of these stats yesterday. The entry point here is Sportsbet Montana, the proud presenting sponsor of our NBA playoffs coverage all summer long. And the Dallas Mavericks are plus 185 as of right now today. So that's their almost 3-1 odds to win the NBA championship, which is steep odds when it comes to the NBA Finals. Usually, who's going to win the championship? It's pretty even money. But the Mavs are as big of an underdog. In fact, the third biggest underdog since the merger, which occurred in 1976 in the NBA. So you're talking nearly 50 years. Here's a couple stats that we dropped yesterday. If the Mavs were to win the finals, they would by record be the team with the second worst record in the history of NBA champions. They went 50-32 in the regular season, and they were 12-6 so far in the playoffs, making them 62-38. To put that in perspective, Boston won 64 games in the regular season alone, let alone all the playoff wins they've gotten to get to this point. The only other team with the worst record, the 1995 Houston Rockets, who actually won their second straight championship, they went 47-35, including 15-7 in the playoffs. So they were 62-42 entering the NBA Finals. That team, though, is very, very interesting when you think about them retrospectively. First of all, they had the best player in the world because Michael Jordan was playing baseball for the Chicago White Sox. Akeem Olajuwon was the best player in the world in both 1994 and 1995. The Rockets were also the defending champs. They also had a myriad of injuries, not to their headlining players, but to all of their sort of role players. Sam Cassell, Bob Sura, Otis Thorpe, They all missed a smattering of time that year. They also traded for Clyde Drexler mid-season, and that actually went poorly before it went well. And then, of course, the Rockets, as the 6th seed, made a run all the way through the Western Conference, and that was sort of the first of many heartbreaks for guys like, well, it was the next in the long line of heartbreaks as Karl Malone. It was the first of many heartbreaks for a guy like David Robinson. But for Olajuwon and the Rockets to roll through those teams and then into the finals, and then roll through Shaquille O'Neal and the Orlando Magic, it's one of the great runs in the history of the league. This Dallas team, though, reminds me more of the team that had the third worst record in NBA champion history. The Miami Heat of 2006. That was the first year of Shaquille O'Neal in Miami. That was just Dwayne Wade's, I believe. He's the same draft as LeBron James. I think that was his third season in the NBA. That Miami team won 52 regular season games. They went 16-7 in the playoffs, including winning the NBA Finals. And their total wins by the end of the year, 68-37. When it comes to underdogs in the NBA Finals, the Detroit Pistons were the biggest underdog to ever win the NBA championship. They were plus 500 back in 2004 when they beat the Shaq Kobe Lakers. That Detroit Pistons did not have the best player in the world, but they had four sort of all-star caliber players: Chauncey Billups, Rick Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince, and Ben Wallace. They're one of the great defensive teams in NBA history. And that Lakers team, if you've read Phil Jackson's book, that Lakers team was on their last leg. They were combusting internally, and they could not figure out a way to get on the same page. That, though, 2004 Pistons team, I would say that's the most anomalous NBA champion, other than probably the Seattle Supersonics in the late 70s. In the history of the NBA, certainly in the post-merger. The only other team that was a worse, sort of an underdog on the betting line was the 2019 Toronto Raptors. They were plus 230. They had Kawhi Leonard. He was the best player in the world at the time. Part of why he was the best player in the world at the time is because the actual best player in the world, Kevin Durant, was hurt. Messed up his Achilles, and he missed the NBA Finals. So a little bit of a caveat there. Then you have the Mavs. And then, as Andrew and I were talking about yesterday, the other plus underdogs in this NBA Finals history, 2016 Cavs against the Warriors was plus 180, but they had LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. The 2021 Bucks were plus 165. Who did that team play in the NBA Finals? I'm trying to remember.
Phoenix, the Booker, Chris Paul Suns.
Oh, sure, right. And Giannis and those guys
rolled through them.
The 2008 Celtics, the first year of the Big Three, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce, they were plus 160 against the Spurs, but they had three all-star Hall of Fame caliber players. The 2012 Heat, I don't know how they possibly were underdogs in the NBA Finals. It shows you how good the Spurs were at that moment in time, but I can't believe they were underdogs. 2011 Mavs is also, I know it's low-hanging fruit to say that this Mavs team reminds you of that Mavs team, but they do. I mean, they have a high-scoring, unorthodox international big man in Luka Doncic, just like they had Dirk Nowitzki. They seem to be hot at the right time. So, I mean, 06 Heat, 2011 Mavs are the two teams that this Mavs team reminds me the most of. And the other two dogs in the NBA Finals included 77 Blazers. Bill Walton was, I think, the most underrated player to have the title of best in the world in the NBA's history. And then that 2006 Heat team that, Shaq had a little bit of juice left in the tank. Dwayne Wade had all the juice, and then he just took it to the stratosphere. And that was sort of the ushering in of a new era here in the NBA. So, Andrew, first of all, what do you think about comparisons? And do we need comparisons? Because that's such a huge part of the NBA. Do we need sort of comparisons to put this finals in perspective?
Yeah, I love doing this, actually, as we're going into the finals. I think they're really interesting questions, and it actually got me to think about this series in sort of a different way than I have been, or approach it from a little bit of a different angle. I think it's great to think about it this way. Love your comparisons for the Mavs. That 08 Heat team, I think, matches up really closely to them. I mean, the comparisons, of course, between Dwayne Wade and Luka Doncic. I mean, people forget, maybe, you've complained a ton about Luka Doncic's playing style. Dwayne Wade shot like 12 free throws a game in that finals against the Mavs. So some similarities there, some similarities between Shaq and Kyrie, just as guys who had won before, sort of on the last or the tailing off part of their career. And yeah, I mean, sort of the coronation of a guy who would go on to be one of the great players in the game. So I like the 08 Heat to the Mavs. That was the first one that I thought of.
Yeah, okay.
Celtics are more difficult.
Celtics are super difficult, right?
Yes, because I can come up with a couple options, but we don't really know what's going to happen in the future. Hindsight, this would be easier.
For sure. The thing that makes this Celtics team so interesting is that they are not the first team to have a dynamic duo of two players that are among the top 10 or 15 players in the league. I would say, though, the thing that makes Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown unique is I'm not sure either one of them knows who the best player is. Definitively, they both want to be the best player, but they also are both okay with not being the best player. I think other NBA teams that have had duos like this, like Shaq and Kobe, both think they're the best player. Even though for most of the time Shaq was better than Kobe, and then Kobe became arguably as good or better than Shaq just in terms of their overall basketball legacies. But I just don't. That's the thing that is, I think, drives Celtics followers and fans crazy. Is every once in a while, one guy will step up and sort of be the guy, but that's inconsistent. It's what makes the Celtics so consistently tough to beat. It also is, I think, the thing that is going to hold them back until it doesn't anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody knows in the back of their minds the guy is Tatum.
It's Tatum.
And Tatum can grab it. I mean, he had 50 points in a Game 7 last year.
Right.
Against the MVP of the league.
No, for sure.
There are times when he grabs it, he just doesn't grab it all the time.
What makes him so elusive to pin down? Because I found this fascinating. He has unique size and skill. He's handsome. He has a multifaceted game. Like, his game is much more aesthetically appealing than Luka's. Luka has way more tricks up his sleeve. Luka's a way more diverse offensive player. But Tatum's a lot more pretty. Yet he just has so many haters. What is it about him that makes him like not be able to enter into like this hierarchy of the definitive top guys in the NBA?
Well, I think people are getting a little bit tired of hearing the same narrative about him every spring.
Right.
Hey, this is Jason Tatum's year.
Right.
This is the Celtics' year.
Right.
Well, we've been watching that story for basically
six years, yes.
Because they've always had at least a competent and usually a very, very good roster around them.
Yes.
I think there's part of that. I think that's wearing people down. I think they're sort of tired of getting the rug pulled out from under them every spring when Jason Tatum doesn't win the title. I think
it's also really easy
to would say that he went to Duke.
That's right. No, that's exactly what I was going to say. There's two other factors. If you don't love the Celtics, you hate them. And if you don't love Duke, you hate them. And he's got both. So that's also, I think, important.
And he's sort of evinces a little bit of the superiority of both of those places.
For sure.
He's a great fit for both of those places, and I don't want to make too many judgments about his character, but that's the way he comes off to me, at least, right? Is there's a little bit of we're better than you that comes out in his game and his personality.
For sure. You want to I have more thoughts and more questions for Andrew about the NBA Finals. We're up against it, and our next guest is here. Our coach guy when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs, we're in the finals. Edmonton versus Florida. What does it all mean? Who are the favorites? What are the matchups to watch? We will break that down. On the other side, don't change that dial. Keep it right here. It's Nuanez Now. ESPN Radio.
It's time for the Montana Club Comfort Food and Game Day Drink Specials. Every Saturday and Sunday, the club's Grizzarita Huckleberry Margarita, Caesars, and Bloody Marys are only $8. Served with Pesto Grilled Prime Grade Montana Club.
What are you guys talking about there?
Tender
NBA Finals.
And don't forget the cheese fries.
Why do you late
Montana Club. To get into the Montana
Right, like he's got a lot of the juice. He's good looking. He's got a good looking game.
Serve Missoula.
Players prominent branch.
The golf course, they have a brand new fleet of golf carts with the Shark Experience, a state-of-the-art GPS system that offers precise distance and pin measurements, full flyovers, pro tips, and more. In addition, music and entertainment choices provide any golfer with all you need to thrive at Canyon River. Located in East Missoula, Canyon River offers a championship golf experience experience set on a beautiful, immaculately curated course. For more information,
Also,
visit
so
CanyonRiverGolfClub.com
so frustrated. Hey, probably for guys like him.
What's up, Missoula? This is
black,
Junior
he
Berger
doesn't
from your
act
Montana
black,
Grizzlies.
so
Did you know for just
that
$39 a
really-
month, you can get unlimited car washes at
He's
Dazzlers?
not
I
a
always take my Jeep to
great-
Dazzlers. It's the most efficient and most thorough car wash in the entire city of Missoula. Download the new Dazzlers app for as little as 31 bucks a
Ant
month.
does it with
You
like
can
so
get
much
unlimited
charisma,
car
too, you
washes.
know?
And for
Good
$37
guy.
bucks a month, you can get the best car wash Dazzlers has available. Treat your car like it deserves to be treated at Dazzlers Car Wash in Missoula. It's the most efficient and most thorough car wash in the entire city of Missoula.
Not really on like a ferry, but it's along those lines.
Dreaming of summer fun? Stop dreaming. Visit any Farmer State Bank location to speak with a consumer lender about making your summer dreams come true. Farmer State Bank offers a full range of consumer loans for vehicles, boats, campers, and more. Rates are competitive and there's never an application fee. You can even apply online at farmersebank.com. Bring on summer fun. Farmer State Bank, your Montana Bank since 1907. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Hit the links and support your Montana Grizzly hockey team at the 4th annual Grizz Hockey Golf Scramble on June 29th at the University of Montana Golf Course. A shotgun start is scheduled for 9 a.m. with a catered lunch to follow play at 2. The cost is only $350 per foursome, which includes greens fees, a cart, beverages, lunch, along with Grizz Hockey swag. Visit GrizzHockey.com today to register your foursome. It's the 3rd annual Grizz Hockey Golf Scramble, June 29th at the University Golf Course.
Missoula City Band is excited to announce its summer concert series, carrying on a tradition of free, open-air concerts that has lasted over a century. Every Wednesday evening at the Bonner Park Band Show, supported by the City of Missoula and talented local musicians, the Missoula City Band series will commence with a preseason Missoula Big Band event on June 12th, followed by weekly performances featuring the City Band and guest soloists. Feel free to bring chairs and immerse yourself in the delightful music and refreshing ambiance that makes summer in Missoula truly special.
I have trouble with sporting girls.
A trio
I
of
agree.
Montana State steeplechasers and a Montana
someone
javelin
got in my
aficionado
face,
will represent the Treasure State this week in Eugene. Hello, I am Colter Nuanez. This year's
totally wild.
NCAA Track and Field Championships will be held Wednesday through Saturday at iconic Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon. For the 3rd year in a row, Montana State has multiple men competing in the 3,000-meter steeplechase. Senior Levi Taylor of Laurel, junior Owen Smith of Billings, and sophomore Rob McManus of Kashmir, Washington will run in the steeplechase final at 6:02 p.m. Wednesday night with hopes of qualifying for the final on Friday. Last year, MSU's Duncan Hamilton finished 2nd overall. And the event, men's javelin will take place at 5:45 p.m. Wednesday. Evan Todd, a University of Montana senior from Kalispell and the 3-time reigning Big Sky Conference champion, will make his national meet debut. Todd's Big Sky record-setting throw of 236 feet 6 inches is the 13th best in the nation this year. Finally, just a week after shattering the all-class records in the 1,600 and 3,200 meters, Bozeman High's Nathan Neal was back on the national stage. In St. Louis Thursday, Neal placed 3rd in the fastest high school mile race of the year. He finished at 4 minutes, 0.76 seconds, lowering his personal record. Neal's previous best mile was 4:31 back in April. Neal's most recent mile is the fastest mile ever run by a Montana high schooler.
This ESPN MT
They told me
Sports Center is brought to you by Ranch Golf
That's not
Course in
true.
Frenchtown.
There's like 25 girls in the NBA right now that are.
Oh yeah.
You know, so
She was the best college.
right, like these girls.
That league,
Yeah,
12 teams. You take the any other league.
yeah,
No rookies coming in.
yeah. These girls are like, fuck that. We're gonna show you.
Yeah, exactly. It's just-
Nothing but spiritual Simpson all day today because if you haven't heard, he's coming to Missoula at long last, or I guess at long last again. He came here once upon a time. It was only at the Wilma because he was just getting started. I totally missed it, and now he's coming back. So I'm very excited about this. September 22nd at the
Kettlehouse Amphitheater.
Can't wait.
What's
That's
your
my
favorite Circle song?
man. I like them all, man.
I don't mind. I don't mind.
Yeah, the album that has like turtles all the way down and long white line. That whole album is like start to finish. Is,
I like all his Cutting Grass volumes too, his acoustic versions.
Yeah.
In one of them, he has this song called "I Don't Mind." It's not an acoustic version. It might be the best song I've ever heard.
Every time I hear it, almost to tears. I'm so mad. That's
a month after my wife said to give birth.
Oh, so you're going to get your
I
dad.
wonder if we should maybe
get a baby soon.
Yeah,
she likes sturgill too, so
yeah.
I think it might be worth
trying to make that work.
These are going to be hot tickets in Missoula for sure. Mike Anderson, in studio with us here on Nuanez now. ESPN Radio Stanley Cup coverage continues. We are into the finals. So very much looking forward to this. Edmonton out of the West, Florida out of the East. So first of all, let's talk about how we got here. A lot of times, last couple of years we've done this.
And so much of what makes the hockey playoffs so exciting is also the thing that makes it so sometimes the finals are not necessarily the two best teams. This, though, seems as if these are two of the best teams. I'm not saying they're the two best teams, but certainly I think throughout the course of the year and then coming into the playoffs, like when we did our preview before the tournament began, I think we both thought that Florida and Edmonton could at least maybe be in this position, especially Florida.
I had Florida making it. I had them losing to Colorado, which that went up in flames. But I had Florida making it. I think they are the class of the East for sure. I think that the path they had to get here, beating Tampa, which for them was huge because that's like a mental opponent that just ran them. They ran the show in Florida and in those first rounds, couple rounds in the playoffs against Florida for years. And now they're the team in Florida who's gone back-to-back to the Stanley Cup Finals, which I was looking at this graphic online, and it was like 5 or 6 teams only in the history have gone back to the Cup Finals after losing the year before.
Wow, I was going to ask you that. Interesting.
That was part of the reason I didn't choose them to win it. I was like, well, that'd be nuts. That never really happens. I think Florida, then playing Boston and then absolutely dominating the President's Trophy winners. All games, they just were far better than New York. Edmonton's up for quite the challenge here.
The Panthers, like you mentioned, back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals appearances, but they never won a Stanley Cup. For a long time, the conventional wisdom was like the teams south of the Mason-Dixon line, they're not going to have any sort of chance. But that's no longer true. Carolina's good. Nashville's had some great years. But Tampa Bay and Florida have been two of the better teams in the NHL. How the Panthers gotten here? Like, what are the key factors to having such a stability as a franchise these last couple of years?
That's a really good question. Barry Zito is his name. I always get it mixed up with the pitcher. I think it's Bill Zito. I almost said Barry Zito, but it's Bill Zito.
Barry Zito, the great lefty for the Oakland A's.
So much fun to watch. That curveball was nasty.
See, this is it's a total tangent just for 1 second. We put so much of a priority on velocity in baseball. I hope that doesn't mean guys like Barry Zito and Greg Maddux can't play anymore. Because, like, Barry Zito's throwing like 88 miles per hour, but he's also throwing an 85-mile-per-hour curve that's just off the table.
I mean, that was he was fun to watch. Anyways, Bill Zito went down there. So this is kind of how I'll start. Dale Talon, he was with the Chicago Blackhawks when they first started their dynasty. Like, he drafted a few of those guys, and then Stan Bauman came in and replaced him. Dale then went to Florida, and he destroyed things down there. They were kind of on a good path. He came in, I'm going to sign veterans. I'm going to do all this conventional wisdom stuff that builds a good team. We're going to be tough. We're going to be hard to play against. All these things that make old hockey men feel really good and strong.
Right.
They were awful. So then Zito comes in, and he makes some really smart trades. The big one was for Matthew Tkachuk.
Yes.
That was a heck of a deal.
Who's been the superstar face of the franchise.
Better and better. Some guys like Carter Venege, who is a fantastic playoff performer. He got from Tampa. He signed certain guys on waivers that have come up to be really strong. Gustav Forsling, one of them, who is their best defenseman. They have a number 1 overall pick, Aaron Ekblad, who everyone would think conventionally, like, oh, that's their number 1 guy. No, it's Forsling. He's fantastic. Montour's fantastic. They built things in-house. They've made really smart trades, and they've signed good free agents. So Zito's done a very good job down there and had to build it up kind of from a bit of a disaster from the man before him or maybe a GM or two in between. But he's done a great job building out that roster and a nice combination of old school thinking and new age approach. So, yes, they're the hardest team to play against in the league because they're physical, they're violent, they muck it up, they get out front, they get in your face. They also value possession. They create many scoring chances. I'm going to throw out some numbers here in a second. And their style of defense is we're not going to be in our zone. We're just going to be in your zone the whole time. That's a very new age approach. So they have a great blend of all that. And 2 years in a row now, and the year before they won the President's Trophy. So the last 3 years, they've been one of the best, if not the best team in the league.
Mike Anderson in studio with us. Stanley Cup Finals talk presented by Sportsbet Montana. Go get that Sportsbet Montana app in your life if you want to track all the various futures bets going into this Stanley Cup Finals and see some of the various prop bets like MVP. They have everything on there. Go check out the Sportsbet Montana app. Appreciate them for presenting our Stanley Cup playoff coverage all season long. Edmonton has five Stanley Cups to their credit, but have not won one since 1990. It's been almost 20 years since they've even played in the finals. And this is the first Canadian team in, 30 years that has played?
Since 93.
Yeah, so we've like 30.
Well, no. Vancouver went in 2011.
Okay.
And they lost to Boston.
Right, but there hasn't been a team that's won a Stanley Cup since the
93,
since the Canadians did in 1993. So.
Then Montreal made it during the bubble year when all the Canadian teams won. That was weird. So they got through there. And that team went to the Cup final next year, worst team in the league. That was one of the most hockey runs ever. They were so bad, and everyone watching was like, how are they still winning? And then the next year, everyone felt very validated because they were terrible.
Well, the Oilers came out of what seemed like a very stacked Western Conference. You had the defending champs and the Vegas Knights, but they were done pretty early. Then you had Colorado, who Mike and I were both high on, but they were dispatched of by the Dallas Stars, who actually also beat the Vegas Golden Knights. So Dallas seemed like then the juggernaut that everybody's going to have to get past. Well, guess what? The Oilers did. I know that was a little bit surprising. We both kind of wanted the Oilers, but Dallas was maybe the favored team. I think we both said we thought Dallas would be the ones representing in this cup, but not so fast. Here's the Oilers.
Yeah, and I ultimately I don't know if you watched Game 6 there, but Dallas dominated that game.
Yes.
5-on-5, far better team. I think they tripled them up in shots. However, they could not score. And not like Skinner played out of his mind. Edmonton is sneaky good at defense. They kind of have a reputation for being run and gun.
Sure.
Since the new coach came in, Knobloch, he has really made things hard to generate good chances in their zone. And then McDavided. He had one of the best goals I've seen in a very long time on the power play.
Unbelievable. On Twitter, Twitter had me cracking up. Somebody tweeted, if you put Connor McDavid in a hockey game in 1981, they would literally think he was a witch.
They would. How is he moving that fast? And then he had a beautiful assist for the second goal, again on the power play. So Dallas had the trouble. They couldn't score consistently. They were generating more chances. All the depth we've talked about all spring, it didn't come to fruition. Did they create the chances to get those goals? Yes. They just didn't do it. And that's what we've talked about for the last couple of years I've been doing this. That's just hockey sometimes. Were they the better team? Yes. Did they outchance Edmonton all 6 games? Yes. Did they expected goal them? Yes. Outshoot them? Yes. They did everything you should to win a game, except Edmonton's power play went nuclear the last 2 games, and they couldn't keep up.
When it comes to who had the tougher path, I mean, the Panthers got through the Lightning, the Bruins, and then most recently the President's Trophy winners and the New York Rangers. Edmonton had to beat the Stars in the Western Conference Final, so who had a tougher path to get to the final?
That's a good question. I think the better teams, Florida. But Florida didn't really play a team that was hard to play against.
Sure. Right.
Edmonton took on Vancouver in 7 games, and that looked exhausting.
Sure.
Vancouver was one of the tightest checking teams in the league, incredibly hard to play against. Every inch of space you had to battle for.
And crazy home ice advantage. There was motion on both sides.
It's kind of 2 all Canadian Canada teams going at it. So I would say physically taxing, Edmonton probably, although the Kings weren't a particularly tough team. Vancouver was really tough to play against, and then Dallas is a far more cerebral. They're not going to be super physical team either. But Florida, just being so much better than everyone else, I haven't really seen them with their backs against the wall yet to be they haven't faced an elimination game yet. They haven't done anything like that yet this year with this group. They've just been so much better than anyone in the East that I would say, they beat the President's Trophy team, so probably statistically they had a tougher path, but I think physically Edmonton's probably feeling a bit more beat up than they are.
Nuanez now, ESPN Radio. Mike Anderson joining us in studio, talking all things Stanley Cup Finals, presented by Sportsbet Montana. When it comes to the odds for this, the futures odds for this series, Florida's minus 115 on the money line. Edmonton's about plus 110, so you're talking about even odds. if you're going to bet on this, I'd say don't bet game to game. Bet on the series, and I would say bet on who you think is going to win the series, either on the money line, or I'd say bet who you think is going to win the series and bet them to win the series in either 6 or 7 games, because it's going to go. I would say this is almost certainly going to go 6 or probably likely 7. Wouldn't you say?
I would. Generally, and just because Edmonton's been playing such good team defense, and then they have the 2 best players in this series on their team.
Right.
And that cannot be discounted. It hasn't worked out for them the past couple of runs, but this run so far, Draisaitl and McDavid have been able to put this team on their back. Bouchard has sort of emerged as a third wheel who just collects assists after passing to those 2 guys, but he can keep up with them. So I think a lot of people will knock on him. Oh, it's not real. He wouldn't do that anywhere else. Well, duh. But you still have to be able to play with those guys, and they still have to have confidence to pass to you and be on the same page. So Bouchard's done a great job filling in there. Hyman's done a great job in Edmonton. The real worry is 5-on-5. Will they be able to keep up with Florida? Because power play-wise, they have the best power play in the league. It's hot right now. We'll see if that continues. But Florida's PK is really good.
Right.
And Edmonton's PK has been phenomenal, too. So if the special teams kind of negates everything, the better 5-on-5 team tends to win, and that would be Florida. However, I don't know what it is, but I feel like Edmonton's going to win in 7. I think the power of a Canadian idol like McDavid,
for sure,
leading a Canadian team to their first Stanley Cup final since '93 to win it. There's something in the air, I hope, and I hope he does it. So I would say Edmonton in 7, and that's what I would bet. I don't know what money line or any of that means, but that's what I would bet.
See, that's what I got too. I got the Oilers money line at plus 110, and I got the Oilers in 7 at plus 450. That's very, very nice, if you ask me. I mean, they're not talking big money, just half a unit on each of those, but it's still fun. It'll make the series fun to follow. Mike Anderson here in studio with us, talking all things Stanley Cup Finals. What statistics do you think are important? I mean, you just dropped some of them when it comes to the penalty kills / power plays. What other things stand out to you that maybe will help you project the way that this series might go?
Well, I kind of touched on it already a little bit, but it'll be, I mean, statistically speaking, it's going to be who generates better chances more consistently.
Sure.
Florida's done that far better than Edmonton has, who they've played. Florida has 313 chances in 18 games to opponents' 233. Edmonton's being outchanced, 243 to 236. So they're not generating as much offense as Florida is consistently. So if Florida can keep doing that and keep their Edmonton power play at bay, those are the 2 things I really keep an eye on. And then there's Stuart Skinner, the Edmonton goalie. What's he going to bring to the table?
Right.
No one really knows. He's kind of like Aiden Hill did with Vegas last year, except he was good throughout. Skinner's been decent to pretty bad.
Yeah.
So what is he going to bring to the table as a goalie? Will Bobrovsky be good or not? Who knows? Goalies are going to goalie. But it is, to me, it's really just about special teams play. Can Edmonton continue to be dominant on both sides of that, PK and power play? And can Florida figure out how to shut their power play down and stay out of the box? Because if they stay out of the box a lot and they don't get a lot of opportunities, Florida's, I think, going to run away with this.
Best place to watch hockey in the city of Missoula, the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill. It's right across from the Glacier Ice Rink Hockey Arena here in Missoula. They also have the best wings anywhere in western Montana. You want some free wings? Call us right now, 406-888-1029. We'll go quickest to the draw. Call number 1, 406-888-1029. Wing It Wednesday, every Wednesday here on Nuanez now. And hit that button, 406-888-1029. Anything else to add on this before we get you out of here? This probably won't be over by the next time you come around. I think that if it goes 6 or 7, I think we'll still have a couple more games.
It starts Saturday.
Yeah, it doesn't start till Saturday. Long break.
That's nice. And I'm sure the players are happy about that. That's kind of rare for the NHL, actually. I was like, they're actually caring about their players' safety and well-being. That's good. But yeah, I think a big thing to watch, too, sort of like stylistically, would be Edmonton's defense isn't very good. Like, they're actual defensemen. They're not. They don't have anybody who's like a stud. And Florida's forecheck is phenomenal. And what they do is they take away that easy option. So if you're an average defenseman and you go back and you want to make that pass to the wall quick or to your center looping down, then puck's not on your stick anymore. You can back out front and you can kind of relax. They don't allow you to do that. They take away your time, then they take away option A. So now they force defensemen to think and have to like, okay, what am I going to do now? And then they create turnovers and attack. Can the Edmonton defensemen get pucks out to their good forwards and get up ice? If that's a big thing to watch in this one. And then can Edmonton, once they're in the zone, sustain pressure and keep Florida out of their defensive zone? That'd be a huge thing. So those kind of little battles there. Can Edmonton establish zone time and keep things out of their end? And can Florida do the same? That's what I'm going to be interested in seeing, is how much these Edmonton D kind of get exposed or not.
Should be a really, really fun matchup. Florida-Edmonton starting on Saturday. Stanley Cup Finals. Mike Anderson in studio with us here, breaking down all the action presented by Sportsbet Montana. Thanks for being here, man.
Always.
We will give you a couple quick news briefs, including a couple young men from the state of Montana performing on the biggest stage of collegiate track and field, coming up here in a little more than an hour. That's next. Keep it right here. Nuanez now, ESPN Radio.
Because the bears in the hood are always starved. They'll go through the trash in your front yard. Make sure you keep your trash inside, or the bears in the hood will dumpster dive.
It's that time of year. Time to be bear aware. Grizzly Disposal wants you to keep your trash bins inside until pickup, or call them to get one of their bear-proof trash bins delivered. Visit grizzlydisposal.com or call 406-441-7171. Grizzly Disposal, the only bears that should be in your garbage.
You have to jump over, and then on the other side
golf course isn't just for golf enthusiasts. We're invited to host your next event at their spacious venue that offers picturesque Fork River scenery, a dining room perfect for showers, birthday parties, reunions, or something parties. Planning a wedding, there's a large outdoor venue space and luxury Airbnb for accommodations. For more information about leagues, season, or daily fees, or to reserve a beautiful venue, give the King Ranch Golf Course a call. 626-4000.
Even come from?
It's one of the
Do you or your aspiring student need a convenient, affordable place to live while
I
attending
guess.
the University of Montana?
Sure
Look no farther than Rome Student Housing.
So it's crazy.
Located
It's
on Front
an
Street, just
8.5
a
minute
walk
race.
from the
And
UM
like the
campus
strategy
and from
of
downtown
jockey
Missoula.
and
Rome
stuff.
offers a variety of living
It's like
options
the
for
5K
UM
and the
students.
10K
Maybe
Including
in
a
LA,
TV
no?
package with
Well,
more than
at
100
the
channels,
beginning,
including
when you
Internet
get into a
network
pack,
feeds with
and
your
like a
unit,
lot
and
of
each unit
people
has a
have a
full-size
pack, and a lot
washer
of
and
times
dryer,
guys,
plus
like,
its own full
bait
bathroom.
them
Rome
and
offers
they'll
pet
go right
friendly
through them right
apartments, too.
before
For
the-
more information, visit
For whatever reason, Montana State is
liveatrome.com.
like the best. They're the best in the country. They have 3 like all-American guys.
You're talking about that.
Well, the dude from last year is like,
Some kind of started.
yeah. Well, the dude from last year was, he was insane. He got like a hamstring cramp down the stretch last year. That's super random. He got second still, and he's like running the pro. Like he's the one that's he's got like the fourth best time in the world right now. But he's like the first, and he's like crazy. These guys like all following in his footsteps.
If you like a local
It's just such a
establishment where you
fucking
feel at
random
home,
thing.
whether it's your first visit or your
But it's also like
first
fun to
visit,
watch because it's just
Yeah.
like so.
I've never seen that
Attending
before.
staff is happy to
I
pour
know,
you a
right?
drink and carry on a conversation. You can come to Reds with friends
it's
or
already-
just make them while you're there. Of course, Reds is going to have every MLB,
Hey, did you
NBA,
make that back?
NHL, and
I
PGA
made- I was in
and
Vegas
series
last
all season
weekend. I took my
long.
wife
Whatever
to the
sport
Dell
you're
outside
into
and
is on
so I
at Reds
did-
right now.
I
Stop
actually
in
did
and
it.
find out what the
Sunday,
locals
and I
already know.
did several-
Reds Bar, downtown at
several
217
events,
Ryman,
yeah.
a Missoula
Yeah.
institution.
The thing is, if they cash them, I have to go back down to the cash.
Oh, really?
What's so puzzling
Yeah,
to
but that's
me is
fine.
that the Big Sky
I go in
is
and out.
not
That's how they
even
get you
holding
back.
guys to the NFL commensurate
Yeah, I
with
did
their
everything.
standing in the FCS. The Big Sky is pretty clearly the second best conference in the FCS, and they're right up there with the Missouri Valley. And the Big Sky is better than the CAA, better than the SoCon. Well, both those conferences sent more guys to the NFL than the Big Sky did. That does not match up to our conception of these programs actually on the field, and that's what's so puzzling to me.
Nuanez now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Things have been a little complicated. Quality life has got me down. Well, sex is cheap and talk is overrated.
Can't believe he's coming back. Sturgill Simpson, Missoula, September 22nd.
Can't wait.
That's good radio. Cashwood Pond is the premier pawn shop in western Montana. Now they give you the ability to shop online from anywhere.
Make CashOnePond.com
part of your shopping habits. They have competitive prices on so many different things. Whether you're in the market for firearms, power tools, speakers, sound equipment, jewelry. They have competitive pricing on all of it. Check out cash1pond.com. That's cash1pond.com. Also swing by their unbelievably well-organized and pristine showroom out on Roller Coaster Road, out by the Y, here in the city of Missoula. Couple notes for you. The NCAA Track and Field Championships are off and running. 4 young men with Montana ties, including 3 from Montana, will all compete this evening. Coming up in about an hour and a little bit more than an hour, the men's 3,000 meter steeplechase prelims will take place. 3 athletes from Montana State who claim themselves as steeplechase 2 will compete in that, looking to qualify for the finals. Rob McManus is a sophomore from Kashmir, Washington. Owen Smith is a junior from Billings. And Levi Taylor is a senior from Laurel. So that's the most competitors in the field in the steeplechase event, all from Montana State. So pretty cool. And certainly, McManus and Taylor have an opportunity to go after All-American honors. They both have top 10 seeds coming into the prelims, so we'll see if those will hold. Then that's at 6:02 tonight. You can stream it on ESPN+. Then at 6:45, Evan Todd, the 3-time defending Big Sky Conference champion and the men's javelin Big Sky Conference record holder in that event, he will throw in the javelin finals. His mark of 246.6 is 13th right now going in. So if he can get in that top 16, you're talking All-American. If you get in the top 8, you're talking first team All-American. So
pretty cool.
A couple other news briefs for you quickly on the Montana side of things. Dallas Mavericks are in the NBA Finals. We'll talk more about the NBA Finals in hour number 2. But Nico Harrison is a Montana State alum. He signed a contract extension earlier today. So congratulations to Nico. We are everything him to get on the show. Probably going to have to wait until after the finals. He's a little bit busy. But that would be a fun one to get for sure. And then Brock Blathers, young man out of Billings. Billings Central alum who played for the Billings Scarlets in the American Legion. He initially went to Alabama, then he transferred to USC. He is back in the NCAA transfer portal against one of Montana's most talented baseball players on the move. Hour 1 in the books. Hour 2 coming at you. Our ESPN Roundtable with Kent Haslam, the athletic director at the University of Montana. Next.
I call myself a confident backseat driver. Mom, brakes please.
Gotcha.
But I'm less confident in their money.
Same here, buddy.
Thankfully, Les Schwab Tires helps make sure that our safety never takes a backseat, even when we're watching our wallets.
Roll into summer. Save up to $200 instantly on a wide selection of tires and wheels. Les Schwab Tires. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply. Details at leschwab.com/sale.
There is a reason customers go back again and again to DeMorris Buick GMC Mercedes, Missoula's most trusted dealership and proud sponsor of Missoula Paddleheads Baseball. DeMorris high-end service shop is unmatched in diagnostics, diesel maintenance, and repair, serving generations of satisfied customers. DeMorris Buick GMC Mercedes is your area Sprinter van headquarters for the Montana outdoor lifestyle. Check out demorris.com for new and pre-owned inventory or stop by 3115 West Broadway.
It's time for the Montana Club Comfort Food and Game Day Drink Specials. Every Saturday and Sunday, the club's Grizzarita Huckleberry Margarita, Caesars, and Bloody Marys are only $8. Pair them with custom grilled prime grade Montana Club steaks or a tender prime rib sandwich. And don't forget the cheese fries. Full menu at montanaclub.com. So get into the Montana Club today for an unrivaled flavor experience on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
As temperatures rise, often your energy bill does too. Missoula Electric Cooperative is helping you beat the heat this summer with simple energy-saving projects. Upgrade to a smart thermostat to save more than 8% on annual electric expenses. Install smart light bulbs, which use 75% less energy. Replace an outdated appliance with one that has an Energy Star label. This swap can reduce average household energy costs by about $450 per year. Follow MEC on Facebook for quick projects that can help you save energy and money.
Blaine McElmurray knows what you can achieve through hard work as an athlete from a small town in Montana. The Troy native rose up to become an All-American safety for the Grizzlies on UM's 95 National Championship team before spending time playing in the NFL. McElmurray has also used those values in his work at McElmurray Homes. Since 2003, McElmurray Homes has helped contract and subcontract some of the Garden City's finest houses. McElmurray Homes is committed to offering quality custom service, quality products, and the best prices throughout any project. McElmurray Homes is also a proud supporter of high school athletes around the state of Montana.
Let's cover our city with art. The City of Missoula Public Art Committee invites artists residing in Missoula County to apply for a public art project to create art on traffic signal boxes located throughout Missoula. The goal of the project is to use local traffic signal boxes as canvases to enhance Missoula's visual surroundings. The boxes to be painted are Highway 10 West and Mary Jane Boulevard and Palmer Street and West Broadway. The deadline for applications is Friday, June 14th. Find the application online now at publicartmissoula.org.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
Well, I've been waiting on a name waitress. Come and take my order. Help me on that special day. Staring at a puddle of mud in my spoon, wasn't much more than opening the circles on the paper. Don't call back telling me to start today.
I tried to play the same artist over and over again on a show, but I can't wait, man. Sturgill Simpson coming to Missoula.
How about that run for about a month there in Missoula? Yours truly will be at Pearl Jam, Tyler Childers, Coulter Wall, Sturgill Simpson, Dwight Yoakam, but that's going to be a little bit earlier. That's in July.
So
I guess starting July 18th. Yeah, kiss my money goodbye, but you can find me at the country concerts. Can't wait. What a sweet run of music. Pearl Jam's obviously not country, but the rest of those fine fellows certainly qualify. They certainly fit the bill, and certainly excited for it. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Listening to the first hour of the show, you can find it on the Nuanez Now podcast, which is probably presented by the M Store, where they're all Grizz all the time, and the MSU Bookstore. Visit msubookstore.org.
Down here in the University of Montana Athletic Department, Kent Haslam, Athletic Director of UM, joining us here on Nuanez Now. And I came to you because you're a busy guy these days. How you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Doing really well. Yeah, I can't believe it's June. It's gone quickly, but things are going well, and I'm always honored to be on your show.
We'll start with the here and now. You guys just got back from the spring tour, which is always a fun time, and I'm sure even more fun when you just had such a great year like you guys did. I mean, from fall to winter to spring, a lot of good things to talk about with Montana athletics. So when you're going on the East Side Swing, you must love, I mean, you got a Big Sky Championship trophy to show off, you got a soccer trophy to show off. Must be even more fun when you got a lot of success to talk about.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have one left. We've got Ronan this Friday, and then that will wrap everything up. But no, you're right. We get measured every single day. There's big scoreboards for a reason. And so when we win, there's no doubt about it. The vibe is very different, and it is fun when you get around the state and you've got a Big Sky Conference championship in football and soccer and women's tennis, and your men's and women's basketball teams won combined 47 games. There's a lot to talk about and a lot of good things to talk about. So, but I enjoy that trip anyway. It gets long. There's no doubt about it. But boy, when we roll into those towns in eastern Montana and really central Montana as well, it means a lot to them, and we certainly need to thank them because we have to have them getting in their cars and driving over here and supporting our athletic programs.
Do you feel like in an athletic department sort of environment that success breeds success? Like when you have a great fall, does that trickle into the winter and then the spring?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And our coaches feel that. They feel the energy off of a really good fall that we had. Volleyball played really well. Yeah. Soccer, just totally outperformed. And then football, of course, we all know about that. And then even cross country, hosting the championships here. And we don't fund those track programs anything like we should, to be honest with you. And for them to overachieve and do the things that they did. But to answer your question, absolutely, the tone gets set right from the beginning. And I tell people all the time, the unique thing about college athletics, very unlike my experience in professional sports, was depending on where you're at in the hallway, depends on the vibe that you might feel.
Sure.
One coach might be coming off the biggest win in program history. The other one might have lost a heartbreaker on the road. And so you've got to be able to navigate those changes of personality, changes of energy. But certainly when we win, it goes through the whole department, and people feed off that.
When it comes to track and field, I mean, a lot of people are always going to look at football. They're going to look at basketball, Montana women's basketball for sure. Track's made big strides, though, and I think that Doug's doing a great job. So, I mean, what have you thought of just what he's brought? I mean, what a veteran coach to bring in as the head track guy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then you add in Erica Fraley, who's an Olympian, former Olympian.
Right.
And we've got...
No surprise, the pole vaulters and high jumpers did pretty well this year,
Pole vaulters and high jumpers are going to do really well, but he has done an outstanding job, hence signing him to a multi-year contract and locking up his services. And he has just such a even temper to him. Great team player, makes the most of what he's got, doesn't complain but pushes in the right ways, wants to compete, wants to win, holds student athletes accountable. When you think about a track roster too, I mean, that's a lot.
Hundreds.
There's a lot that people don't recognize. That you compare the number of coaches taking care of that many student athletes. It's a lot of work for them and a lot of travel, a lot of different areas that they're headed in. So I'm really proud of them, and to have our men go to Bozeman and finish fourth was really, really exciting for us and exciting for them as well.
The upward trajectory, too, of what track athletes can do is so cool. I mean, as people are listening to this right now on the radio, we're about an hour and a half away from Evan Todd. I mean, that's what I always try to tout when it comes to these track athletes is you can go to the NCAA tournament, you can go to the FCS championship. Those are all awesome. But like Evan Todd is throwing with the 12 best javelin throwers in the country this afternoon. That's so cool. I mean, that's a great thing for University of Montana from a marketing, branding, and just athletic department standpoint.
Oh, absolutely. You summed up my feelings perfectly right there. It's a great he's a great representative of the state of Montana. A Montana kid, and I hate to call him kid because he's not a kid anymore, but from Montana, and a great example of what you can do if you work hard and get the right coaching and someone gives you an opportunity.
Ken Haslam joining us here on Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, our ESPN Roundtable. He's the athletic director at the University of Montana. One last about sort of the here and now state of affairs of University of Montana athletics. Got to ask you specifically about football. I know when you brought Bobby Houck back, this was the expectation. That's always the expectation at Montana. But they did it. They let it roll. And it was one of the most fascinating seasons I've ever covered, because the first month of the year thinking, these guys are kind of figuring it out. Maybe they'll be good. Maybe they won't. I don't really know. Then they lose to Northern Arizona. You're like, oh, man, they're in trouble. There's some issues. And then they just win out. They win 3 straight ranked road games in October, and then it's just off to the races. They start beating people down. So from your chair, what was it like to just watch the momentum build last year?
Oh, it was great. I mean, I tell folks, I was on that same plane back from Flagstaff, and so I felt what it was like, and it was rough watching that game, and Coach Howe could give you a completely different perspective. I joke with him about, boy, what happened after NAU, and he'll, what are you talking about? We play hard. You stumble all the time. We lost our first game, conference game, then went to the national championship when he's there first time. And so Coach Houck has got a lot of passion, and he defends things, and a lot of fun to work with, actually. But I was on that flight, Coulter, and it was... Yeah, you're looking and going, what's happened? And then we remember Idaho State the next week. It was homecoming, and Idaho State was pretty good, no doubt about it.
They definitely got better last year.
Yeah, got better, but we were, kind of just waiting for the momentum to kick in. And then you're right, we went on the road, and that Davis win really, I think, is what propelled us. And then you start to get some good breaks, and Idaho breaks your way, and then you pound Sacramento State, and then suddenly you see some belief. And that's what's so much fun about when you see that momentum coming. You can't articulate what causes it or what pushes it over. I'm not in the practices. I'm not in the team meetings. I'm not down in that locker room. I'm not in there with the student athletes as they try to motivate themselves. But something clicked, something happened, and I'll tell you what, it was a magical run, and we ran into a really good football team at South Dakota State, no doubt about it. You wonder what would have happened if you score there on 4th and goal and you don't turn the ball over coming out in the second half. But it was a great year, and I was really proud and really happy that our fans got a chance to experience Frisco. I think it's a great championship. You've been there more than once. I've been there multiple times as well. Great place to have that championship, and that was a lot of fun. That was that moment against, and then I'll stop talking about that moment. That interception on the field against North Dakota State.
Surreal.
It was surreal. I can't even describe what it was like. I'm standing down there in the corner with my wife. We happened to just be standing right there when he picks that pass off. I'm looking for flags first, and then it sinks in like, we just won this football game, and the fireworks are going off, and we're heading to Frisco, Texas. So it was a magical moment, and something that's rewarding to watch other people succeed.
It was so fun to watch all the players too. I mean, they just lost their minds. I'm trying to take video. I'm sitting here below the goalpost, and all of a sudden I'm getting carried around. They don't know who I am. They just want to celebrate with somebody. So yeah, it was cool though. I mean, the thing that we always talk about is how much of the University of Montana as a whole and the athletic department influences this town, this state, this part of the state, all of it. And you could just feel that part too. It wasn't just the momentum building within the football team. It was momentum building within the community too. I mean, people are a lot happier in December in Missoula when the Grizz are winning football games, that's for sure.
Absolutely. When we're hosting playoff games, it seems to have a tremendous impact
every sports
on,
bar owner in the state, they let you come right in the door. Yep, I'll take some advertising. Sounds great.
Absolutely, and it is. It's fun. And at times do we place way too much importance on it? Oh, we probably do, but you know what? It's a lot of fun, and it binds a community, it binds a university in a way that nothing else can do, and that's why I'm such a proponent of athletics, and in particular college athletics.
When it comes to just this last calendar year, this has to be, you're going into what, you're 13 now, is that correct?
Yeah, 13th year.
I mean, that has to be one of the better cumulative years you guys have had as an athletic department, just in terms of pretty much every team being competitive and getting better from the previous season.
Yeah, you try to think back on how things go, and it's amazing how things can turn. I would have said that the year before that was an underachieving year athletically. We've had some really great teams. We've had back-to-back trips to NCAA basketball tournaments for our men. We've had men and women go in the same year, softball. But to put them all together, and let's call it what it is, football in many ways sets that tone, and you feel like football is doing the things that they need to do. They're our biggest revenue driver. They're our highest profile program. It doesn't mean that we love them any more than anybody else. I tell our student athletes that all the time. But the fact of the matter is it does set the tone, and it does set our revenue goals and help with our revenue goals. So football's important. There's no doubt about it.
Ken Haslemere on Nuanez Now, ESPN Roundtable, proudly presented by Paradise Falls of Missoula. You mentioned revenue, so let's talk revenue. I want to talk just about sort of the state of affairs in college athletics right now. It's at the same time the gift that never stops giving for us, because we have something to talk about no matter what, because there's this going on, that going on, all these different transfer rules. It's also dizzying and hard to even begin to keep up with. And when you're talking about what's going to happen in the future, I think we're all in the same boat. None of us have any clue. So I guess to start with a broad view, how do you sort of strategize how to go about attacking all of these different moving parts in the wide world of college athletics?
Well, it's difficult. Everyone knows that. There were changes that had to be made. I've said this before. We're to blame for this frustration, we being the NCAA and college athletics as a whole. Yeah. We could have made changes 20 years ago that incrementally would have made this business far more fair and far more transparent and far more... Colter, when you think back on the rules, even like when you were in college... They were crazy. They were crazy. Like
totally crazy.
Literally, someone could not sign an autograph and get paid to do it.
Sure.
They were crazy. So we needed to make these changes. The changes, they got forced upon us. There's no doubt about it. And that's why it's harder to adjust to this. But it is difficult to navigate. For me, it's staying focused on what your mission is, which is we still are educating students. We're still giving them an opportunity to take the talent that they develop athletically and convert that into a college education. We're still focused on connecting with the community, being a core part of what the University of Montana as a whole is, what this state is. And I know that might sound idealistic or Pollyannish, but really we have to stay focused on that because that's what we are, and that's really what moves us. That's what moves this community. But it is difficult. I mean, I was on a Zoom call this morning, and I'm talking about NIL and different things, and I hang up thinking, and I can't keep track of all these things. Where are we going to focus our resources? Are we going to focus it on sponsorships? Are we going to focus it on driving NIL revenue? Are we going to focus it on raising money for scholarships? But I think if we continue to keep the student athlete in focus and provide them with all the best opportunities they can, and we shore up what we do for them from their scholarship standpoint and supporting them as they grow into leaders, I think we'll stay focused on the right things.
When it comes to the fundraising part, it seems like such a challenge, right? Because now you have basically a new mouth to feed.
Yeah.
When it comes to NIL, and you still, it's a challenge in itself to raise all the money you need for the Grizzly Scholarship Association, to have all your corporate sponsorships taken care of, the Learfield deals, all those sort of things. So I guess what's the entry point to trying to figure out how to generate more revenue to have enough to feed this extra now machine that is the NIL collective and all these other things that go along with it?
Well, first, you got to focus on scholarships. That's what we're always going to focus on. We've got to focus on scholarships and making sure that we're funding those appropriately. And then, you know what, Coulter, it might be at a time when we shift away from real fancy facilities and we go more towards trying to support student athletes financially. Kind of that professional model. If you walk into a professional team's locker room, it's not all that awesome, right? It's because those players are told, look, I'm paying you $10 million. You need to hit a three-pointer. I don't care if you're getting dressed in an outhouse. Let's go, right? And so I don't think we'll ever get to that point, but facilities were a way that you could attract student athletes. Now you're going to have to honestly look at yourself and say, okay, what can we do to provide them with NIL opportunities that are legitimate and that actually provide them with great resources and make them feel like they're valuable. But if I had a donor come right now and say, look, we're going to give you X $100,000, what do you want to go to? First, I'd say we need to fund our scholarships. Second, we need to get our Lady Grizz locker room done. And then after that, we're going to fund program support to make sure our student athletes are succeeding.
When it comes to facilities, you guys obviously have a premier facility when it comes to football, premier facility when it comes to basketball in terms of sort of like the outer facilities that people see. Champion Center's been going now for a while, so that seems like that part's locked in. The indoor practice facility, give people an update on those two things, indoor practice facility as well as the Lady Grizz locker room, because I know those are the two big projects you guys have been working on.
Yeah, two very different timelines for both of those. The indoor practice facility is, you walk by it, the turf's been put down.
I just saw the turf.
Yeah, turf has been put down, and they'll inflate the building here in the summer. Got to get it inflated to be able to put up the lights and do all those type of things. Didn't even think about that, but you got to inflate it to do the final work on it. So that will be up and running. We need to have that in place by the time we have our 3 concerts in the stadium in August, so that our football team's definitely got a place to go. So that one is well underway. The Lady Grizz locker room, we've got to fund it 100% ourselves, and so we're slowly moving along with that. We've got to relocate. We got to relocate our equipment room to the old football locker room. We're doing that right now. That will free up the space for the Lady Grizz locker room. But we're still probably about $500,000 away from finalizing that Lady Grizz locker room. And then after that, our two practice gyms that we have here, our auxiliary gyms, we'd like to take the East Auxiliary Gym and put a wood floor down there. That way, now that we don't have track or anybody in there having to pole vault and throw javelins and all those kind of things, we can put another wood floor down there, and then we'd have 2 wood floors for our volleyball and 2 basketball programs to use as practice facilities. That frees up the arena to have us do a few more concerts and those type of things. So we're always going to look at facilities, but certainly we're making some really great strides on those infrastructure facilities that really help our student athletes. The indoor practice facility will be a great addition for all of our students and really the community as a whole.
Ken Haslam, University of Montana Athletic Director here on Nuanez. Now, you mentioned the concerts that are coming up at Washington Grizzly Stadium. I'm glad you brought that up because I meant to ask you about that too. 3 big shows coming in the span of a week. So how does the negotiations go when you got Logjam, you got Live Nation? Yeah. You're probably in on them. The facilities is certainly in on them. Chuck Mays and Tech Peavy got their hands full too. And I'm sure the old ball coach probably doesn't like people using the stadium for a week in August while they're getting ready for the season. So how did it all come about? How did it all, how'd those negotiations go?
Oh, they go really well. The Adams Center operations and athletic operations really have morphed into one now. Yeah. And so athletics is much more highly involved in outside events, which is a really good thing. Coach Hauk, he is completely supportive of those concerts as long as we can continue to do what our primary mission is. We've got to be ready to play a football game on August 31st at 7 p.m. against Missouri State. Like that's our bread and butter. We're in that business. That's what we do. The concerts, though, are great for this community, and they do drive revenue to us. We're hoping to make several $100,000 that will go right back in to support student athletes and our scholarships. It's going to be a lot of work. 3 concerts in a week or so is a lot to do. I don't know if we'll always do 3, but President Bodner, Seth Bodner's really pushed us to make sure we use the facilities and this real estate that we have and maximize the revenue stream that we can get off of those. And so a couple of stadium shows every year, 9 to 10 concerts in this Adams Center with flat shows, those type of things. When we as an athletic department and a university see, hey, these are benefiting us financially, everyone jumps on board and they understand that this is part of what we've got to do in kind of this new era of generating revenue. We need to generate the revenue.
Is there a benefit to having all of them in 1 week? Like, does that make it easier for the facilities?
Actually, because Coulter, I've learned so much.
I bet.
Yeah, it's one stage build, and so
right. So you don't have to take it up.
You don't have to take it out, put it down. I mean, Washington Grizzly Stadium's an awesome place to watch a football game, but think about that tunnel over there where the visiting team comes out. That's the only way to get down onto the field.
Sure, right.
So you're not bringing a large crane or anything to get those stages set up. So they've got to truck that thing in and then use forklifts to build that stage. So if you can get one stage built with multiple shows, far, far better than one stage, one show.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at Kent Haslam, University of Montana Athletic Director, joining us here on Nuanez Now. Let's take a look at what's been sort of the lead news the last couple weeks, and that's been, I guess, more than a couple weeks, the last couple months. That's been these 3 lawsuits against the NCAA, and then the projected settlement that then became the real settlement. Tom Wissershill was on the show last week, and he was talking about, we understand where this is coming from and where it's going, but I think the one inequity is that the Power 5 is trying to make all the other 27 conferences pay their bills. So from the University of Montana perspective, how much does this affect you guys, and what are some of the sort of consequences of all of this for here at UM?
Well, if the settlement goes in as to what we project it to be with a 20% reduction over the next 10 years of our distributions from the NCAA, we see it about a $250,000 loss per year. And so that will certainly impact us. That's real money. That's going to have to be made up from ticket sales or donations or something along those lines. So that's real money. There's some positives that will come from this settlement. It's still got to be done too, so it's not done yet.
Right.
But there's some positives from this. If it gives us 10 years worth of injunction relief from other lawsuits that allow us to set some parameters, work with Congress to get some things done, that really helps us. I think at first reaction was, gosh, we're not in the room when you make the decisions, but I mean, let's call it what it is, Coulter. We're not in the rooms when a lot of those decisions are made anyway, right? And we certainly gain the benefit of being a Division I institution. We do gain when Alabama and Ohio State and all those schools do really well. I mean, there's trickle down from a robust NCAA men's basketball tournament, but the pain comes from just the sheer math of, okay, Montana's going to lose $250,000 a year for the next 10 years so that student athletes in the Power 5 for the last 10 years could get paid.
Sure.
That's just hard to grasp and hard to hear.
It's like Commissioner Tom said, Montana's going to be paying for Zion Williamson. Montana State's going to be paying for Zach Wilson. That seems sort of silly.
Yeah, and that's a good, and Tom's been very articulate and very, very vocal, which I applaud him for doing that. And the line that we keep getting, and he may have used the same line, was we're together in the sunshine and we're also together in the rain, and it's raining right now, and so all of D1's got to step up and help. So if it brings some stability and at least gives us a chance now where we can operate knowing what's happening, I'll take that. It's a tough pill to swallow, though, at $2.5 million over 10 years.
So, yeah, wow. Interesting. I hadn't heard the exact figures, so certainly. So, I mean, when it comes to making up that money, it can come from anywhere, though, right? I mean, it can come from fundraising or
So it's not going to be, we're not writing anybody a check.
Sure.
So the NCAA distributes funds to member institutions in a variety of ways.
Right.
The one that's the most familiar with people are the men's basketball tournament shares.
Right.
And so those shares, if they take money off of that to pay the obligation that they have to these former student athletes, and that reduces what we get paid. We have other reimbursements through the number of sports you sponsor, you get a reimbursement. Number of scholarships you offer, you get a reimbursement. So for Sacramento State, for example, I mean, they've got 20 plus sports they're going to see a pretty big hit, probably closer to $500,000.
Right.
We have 15 sports, don't offer nearly as many scholarships as they do. So our take's going to be what we hope, what we think. Again, this is just a projection of closer in the $250,000 range.
Two of the other things that were sort of newsworthy out of this were the earmarking of dollars, or at least the allowed earmarking of dollars for what amounts to like an athletic department payroll for student athletes. That seems like not in the cards for Montana or any other Big Sky Conference school.
No, I don't see us doing that at all. I mean, no.
I mean, to put that in perspective, your guys' athletic department budget's somewhere around, what,
24 million.
So 21 extra million would be like doubling it. That seems unrealistic.
Yeah, so that's not realistic.
Yeah. Do you think that will be just broadly sort of a line in the sand, though?
I think so. Oh, yeah, I think the line's been drawn, and I think there will be some tough decisions and some tough discussions that are going to happen across campuses all over this country as to what do we want to be. Look, I can only focus on the University of Montana. I think we're in a good position because we're not trying to be something that we're not right now.
Which is huge.
That's really
a lot of athletic departments are trying to be something that they're not.
I would agree with you. And I don't want to pick on anybody out there because everybody's got their own problems. Everybody's got their own struggles. But there are some that are trying to be. I get the question, are you moving up? And I always tell them, I don't even know what moving up means right now in this context.
Right.
If we're moving up to try and be like Alabama and Ohio State, that's absolutely silly. And moving up in 2 to 3 years might be a completely different conversation, completely different as to how we settle into these divisions in football. It's important for us to play football. Football is critical to our success, but doing things at all costs and trying to be something that you just can't be is a really difficult financial proposition.
The other part about the settlement that stuck out to me was the elimination of scholarship limits, but still the maintaining of roster limits. Do you expect that to have any impact on?
Oh, I think there could be some trickle down as far as roster stacking at bigger schools, but eventually I think these young people want to play.
Yeah.
And if you're the 110th player at Alabama, and you can go get a great opportunity to play at Middle Tennessee State, you might very well go do and take that. But when you think about it, in reality, we've just had random random scholarship limits.
Sure.
Like, why is it that we can only have 63 at this level? Why is it they can have 85?
Right.
Who set that, and what's the parameter? That's the whole reason that the NCAA is getting sued, is these arbitrary limits on financial opportunities that just seem to be put in.
Right. Like college baseball is 11.7. Like, how'd they come up with that number?
Exactly.
Why 11.7?
Yeah. If one school wants to give away 25, well, why can't they give away 25?
Sure.
I understand the competitive equity, but in just the common sense world, it's like, where did that number come from, and why is it that number?
Interesting. Ken Haslam, University of Montana Athletic Director, joining us here on Nuanez Now. Last couple things for you then. You mentioned that people always ask you about moving up, but I think that there is, some anxiety. Like, what is the future of the Big Sky? I think that the core members of the Big Sky are in a good position, as you mentioned, but I think that there is going to be a fracturing, and nobody really knows how that goes. So I know you have no way to see the future either, but is it just about forming as much stability as you can here in-house, or how do you sort of get yourself ready to be ready for all these other things that are outside of your control?
That's a $1 million question.
For sure.
It really is.
Yeah.
And if we were to move up currently in this landscape to the Mountain West Conference, that's obviously the one that would make the most sense for us.
Right.
There's a $5 million price tag to do that. There's additional scholarships, all these things. But how that will shake out in the future, that's why I say I don't know what moving up means, because it could dramatically change.
Sure, right.
I think those decisions, honestly, are going to require decisions at the highest level of our government, our leadership of universities, the Montana University system, the presidents, the commissioner of higher ed, the governor, really, as to how we want, what do we want athletics in the state of Montana to look like in this new changing university intercollegiate athletics world. And so, because it's going to take investment, it's going to take money, and what are the citizens of Montana comfortable in investing in this? That's the $1 million question. Now, I think what we can do in the meantime is just to make sure that we continue to be attractive to whatever might come down. Right? We want to make sure that we're competitive, that we're funding scholarships, that we are relevant in our state, that we're relevant in our region, that we take things seriously, that it matters to us, and that other people care. And those are the things that are real strengths for us here.
Do you feel like, this is just an opinion question, but do you feel like the fact that the FCS might have a finite future puts more pressure on Montana to win an FCS championship before it goes away?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, the FCS has changed dramatically.
Totally.
I mean, look at the schools that are, we're opening against a team in Missouri State that now has announced they're going to Conference USA.
I have a buddy that lives in Springfield, Missouri, and he's like, well, that's something that'll never happen again. Like an FBS, basically, essentially, a transitioning FBS coming to an FCS.
Yeah. No,
and the FCS is also going to be favored. That's an amazing dynamic.
Yeah, so, I mean, you start to see teams that you're so familiar with move away.
Sure.
That certainly you look around, you want to make sure that you're with like institutions and institutions that are doing things the right way. But FCS football, it's great football. I think it's a great landing point. And I would actually, I'd actually suggest that schools that maybe are playing in the group of 5, we take a look at what's another division that we could have within Division I.
So that's what I think is going to happen. I think that you're going to see the first line in the sand. I think that people think that everybody in the Power 5 is going to make this continued move. And I think that there's going to be maybe a couple of 10 or 12 schools that say, hey, I don't want to play ball with Ohio State. They make $300 million a year on football. How am I going to compete with that? So, and then I think you'll probably see sort of a reallotment, and then maybe the speculation about the group of 5 potentially adding a playoff model, that makes things totally different, wouldn't you say?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yes, I completely agree. My opinion, I'd love to see 3 subdivisions in Division I football and have a power conference. Let them run their college football playoff. Let's have a 24-team playoff in this middle division group of 5 high-end FCS. Let the NCAA run it like ours is right now, and then have another FCS division that's running a 24-team playoff too. I think there's totally room for that.
ESPN Roundtable, Kent Haslam, the University of Montana Athletic Director, joining us here on Nuanez. Now, last thing I got to ask you this before I let you go. You once upon a time were an interpreter in the world of baseball. You speak Japanese, correct?
I spoke it a lot better.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, but I do, yeah.
So what did you think? I mean, we don't have to you don't have to give me your full opinion because I think that it's a very muddy situation, but crazy that the biggest story in baseball the first sort of 3 or 4 months of the year was Shohei Ohtani and his interpreter.
Yeah.
And I thought of you. I was like, they can't used to do that. Again, you don't need to opine on the actual situation.
I just want to go on the record and tell everybody I've never bet on baseball. I never, and I didn't have Shigetoshi Hasegawa's money that I was paying. But no, it was fascinating to watch.
Wild, right?
I've got some opinions of myself. I think having lived in Japan for almost 3 years total and worked in Japanese baseball, I think there's some cultural things at play between those two.
Sure.
That there's a big thing about Japan about not losing face and making sure people aren't embarrassed. And so
definitely,
I could see Shohei potentially, I don't want to speculate, but I could see him doing some of that for his interpreter. And you can just see cultural issues and language issues all at play in this whole thing. But it's fascinating. And yeah, it's great. There's a great documentary on Apple TV about Koshien, which is the Japanese high school baseball tournament.
Oh, wow, okay.
And Shohei's coach from high school's in there. And if anyone's interested in Japanese high school baseball, which their tournament's really the equivalent of our NCAA men's basketball tournament, it's fascinating. Shuts the country down. These high schools, one team from each prefecture, get to go to this championship. And it's pretty cool when you start to learn the culture that follows behind baseball and professional baseball in particular in that country. Fascinating place. I love the country. I love the language. I love the people. A lot of interesting things there.
Yeah, I want to go to Japan so bad. Thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome.
I have wanted so long to ask Kent Haslam about that because truly, who else in the state of Montana has worked as an interpreter in Japanese baseball? Literally, he's one of one. So I'd love to have a little bit more in-depth
conversation about the whole Shohei Ohtani fiasco, but we didn't have time. We appreciate Kent for taking so much time
very interesting. We have also efforted Leon Costello. We're expecting him next week to talk about the state of affairs, both for Montana State and where they fit within the scope of college athletics at this exact moment. Speaking of future college athlete, having the future University of Washington runner. Our senior spotlight continues. Nathan Neal, Bozeman High, next.
The action unfolds at Washington Grizz Stadium on September 28th. Vertex Fitness presents the Zootown Challenge, Missoula's only obstacle course race. Expert, novice, kids, and individuals with disabilities participate in the spirit of healthy competition. Net proceeds support Missoula's opportunity resources. Sign up at zootownchallenge.com. Zootown Challenge, September 28th. Stop by Vertex Fitness for details.
You already know Paradise Falls has excellent home-style breakfast, and you already know Paradise Falls is an awesome place to gather with family and friends alike for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You probably already know that Paradise Falls has some of the best burgers and steaks in all of Missoula, but if you don't know about the delicious pizza at Paradise Falls, you need to. The PF Supreme, the chicken bacon, the Hawaiian, and any combination you might make yourself will have your mouth watering from start to finish. Come try the pizza at Paradise Falls. Swinging to 3621 Brook Street in Missoula, Paradise Falls, Missoula's coolest hotspot.
Do you get your car washed more than once a month? Of course you do, because you treat your car like it deserves to be treated. If you love having a clean car, you need an unlimited car wash package from Dazzlers. For $37 a month, you can get the most deluxe, thorough, efficient car wash anywhere in the city of Missoula. Basically, after your second car wash of the month, the rest are free. Treat your car like it deserves to be treated and save money while doing it at Dazzlers Car Wash of Missoula. Dazzlers Car Wash located on Radio Way off of North Reserve in the Garden City.
Get ready, Montana. Place bets on your favorite teams and games, both collegiate and professional, with Sportsbet Montana. With over 500 locations statewide, it's never been easier to get in on the action. Choose from spreads, money lines, parlays, and more. Excitement? You bet. Action? You bet. Winning? You bet. Visit sportsbetmontana.com or download the app now. Sportsbet Montana, Montana's exclusive sportsbook.
Affordable family fun entertainment. The Missoula Paddleheads are back in action with bigger promotions at a low price for the entire family. Baseball equals summer. Come enjoy a night under the lights at Oakland Park at Allegiance Fields. First pitch for Tuesday through Thursday and Saturday games is scheduled for 7:05 with gates opening at 6. All Friday home gates will open at 5:30 and first pitch is at 7:05. Sunday matinee games will be at 2:05 with gates opening at 1. Tickets and more at GoPaddleheads.com.
Fleetwood Mac certainly is above most of the rest. And I even get tired of Dave Matthews. I know all you guys think that I'm like Dave or die, but in fact, I go through months-long phases where I don't listen to any of that. Play me some Fleetwood, I'm down. But I always wonder, if you're Stevie Nicks or Lindsey Buckingham or Mick Fleetwood, and you hear that song come on the radio, are you like, gosh, I'm a genius. Listen to those harmonies. Oh, so good.
Talking music, pop culture, occasionally sports, and who knows what else. Every weekday from 4 to 6 on Nuanez Now.
1, 2, 3. Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
Says my son, it's all been done. Someday you're gonna wake up old and gray. Go and try and have some fun. Don't want everyone to cheat along the way.
I can't wait.
I know I
said that 14 times on the show already today. But
Sturgill Simpson coming back to Missoula September 22nd at the Kelos Amphitheater. I believe that's a Sunday, so you know,
a lot of times on Sundays I'm
a little bit tired from the week that was, but no complaint. We will rally and rally hard for that one. So looking forward to it. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Appreciate you for hanging out with us here on this Wednesday. Our senior spotlight continues, highlighting some of the best individual athletes, both boys and girls, that were seniors this previous academic year around the state of Montana. It's presented by McElmurray Homes. McElmurray Homes has been building custom homes in Missoula for more than 20 years. They can offer the best prices, the best quality, and they'll help you out throughout every step of the project. They're also operated by an all-time great, one of the great guys I've gotten the chance to meet through this job, playing McElmurray, All-American for the University of Montana in the mid-1990s. We then went on to play in the NFL. McElmurray Homes, proud to present the Senior Spotlight for the 5th summer in a row. Our guest this week on the Senior Spotlight, a young man that keeps on breaking records. And what a great meet he had at the Class AA Championships a couple weeks ago. And then he won up himself again this last week with a almost 4-minute flat in the mile. Nathan Beal, our guest next. He's a senior at Bozeman High School. Nathan, I appreciate you joining us. I know this was a little weird since I never actually met you in person, but congratulations on all your success, and thanks so much for joining us here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
First of all, let's talk about the state meet here in Montana. We were tracking your times all year. You appeared on our Treasure State's best track and field scoreboard literally every week of the spring track season. I know that the bar was set very high. First of all, after your great junior year and then the awesome year you had across country this last fall. But then right out the gates during the spring season when you went to the Arcadia Invite and ran that awesome time in the 3,200 meters, that put everybody on alert that you might be hunting records. But going into the Great Falls, just tell us about your mindset, because I know you probably had it in your sights that you were going to try to change that 1,600 and 3,200 meter records, but then you did it, and you did it in resounding fashion, breaking both of them by many seconds. So just tell us your mindset going into those races, and how were you able to get it done?
Yeah, going into those races, I had my mindset of breaking the record. Yeah, I was confident in my fitness at the time. I had broken the 1,500 meter record earlier in the season, just not at the state meet. But I don't know. Yeah, you never underestimate the Montana distance field. It seems that there seems to always be some surprises at the state meet. So going into the meet, I was going for the record, but I was also going out a little bit conservative, just in case something happens. But yeah, I mean, in the end, I ended up having 2 really good races, both in the mile and 2 mile. I got both the records.
It's an interesting dynamic, though, right? Because you mentioned you run times that were better than the state records, but you can't get a state record officially in the state of Montana, which I actually think is sort of ridiculous. You can't get a state record unless you do it at the state meet. But like you said, especially in the distance races, a lot of times you have race strategy. You never know if the heat's going to be slow. And first and foremost, I'm sure you want to win a state championship as much, if not more, than actually breaking the record. So how do you sort of balance those two? Having a good strategy to make sure you get the gold medal, but also making sure you're beating the clock as well as the field.
Yeah, it was just going out confidently and making sure that I wasn't doing anything that was over my head. Elevation is real, so I can't just go out and expect to run times that I'm running at sea level. So I don't know. I definitely had that in mind that it was going to be slower than some of the times I was running over in California and Portland. But I don't know. I mean, going into that race, yeah, I did obviously. I had to win the state title. That's the most important thing going in. But also, I was pretty confident. I had times that were pretty far ahead of everyone else in the state. So I don't know. I just went to both those races with the mindset that I was going to lead from the front. I was going to put the pace that I wanted to run, and if anyone wanted to try to keep up, they could try. And I don't know, I was a little more frustrated that I didn't really get any competition for both races. I mean, obviously the guys that were behind me they were running really good yards, and they were running super fast with Montana standards, but I was hoping to get a little bit of help in both of those races, but after I still ended up running really well. I'm happy with it.
Nathan Beal joining us here on Nuanez now, a Bozeman High School senior, and our current subject for our senior spotlight, highlighting some of the best athletes, both boys and girls, that are graduating in this year's class of 2024. Nathan headed to the University of Washington, which we'll get to here in just a little while.
When it comes to having somebody to push you, and then you realize that it probably isn't going to be, how do you then continue to sort of stay motivated within the scope of that race? Like, what's going through your mind when you're tracking, okay, I need to be on this pace, here's where I need to be. I mean, 4:07 was the previous record in the mile. I think 9:07 was the previous record in the 2 miles. So how did you know that you were sort of staying on pace, and if there is nobody to push you, how were you able to still push yourself, so to speak?
Yeah, so the first lap, in the mile specifically, the first lap is it's going to be on pace no matter what. Everyone's excited. It's a state meet, and it was the first distance race of the weekend. So the first lap is always going to be right where I wanted to be. But then after that, I was hoping the crowd would help me through the race. I was really thinking that if the crowd was loud and everyone was yelling and stuff, I was going to be able to run extra fast. But I don't know. I got in the mile. I got through 2 laps, and going into and then after like about 1,200 meters, going into the 4th lap, I could hear my footsteps going down the home stretch along the bleachers there. And so I gestured to the crowd and tried to get everyone going because I feel like it's a little ridiculous if I'm hearing myself running on the track. And I don't know, it's always easier to run with the crowd. That's why races like Arcadia are so fast. It's just the environment that you're in. So the second I did that, everyone started yelling, and I immediately put in a little surge, and running was just easier at that point. So I don't know, I was hoping the crowd would be going the whole races, the entirety of them both, but that didn't happen. I don't know, it's kind of hard to run races solo. I've been doing it all season, and it never gets easier. Yeah.
Sure, and that's why I asked multiple questions about it, because it just seems like it's so challenging. Nathan Dale's been us here on Nuanez now. Both these records that you broke were held for just a year by your former teammate, Weston Brown, who's now running at Princeton. So the fact that you guys are sort of redefining these events. There's been great distance runners out of Bozeman High School and in South State of Montana for years and years and years, but you guys have really raised the bar. So just sort of having him as a teammate and probably a training partner as well for the first 3 years of your high school career, how much did that sort of influence it, and how much did that help you?
Yeah, he's the reason. He's definitely one of the most influential people why I am where I am today. I think him and my coach, having him the entirety of my junior year when I ran cross country and back, it really helped me to help both of them to push ourselves. But then the mindset he had going into each practice and how his work ethic going into every workout we had in every race, it kind of put me into the perspective of what I wanted to do my senior year, because I didn't beat him once my entire junior year. So going into my senior year, I seen what he had done. That's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to break the records he had set. But I don't know. Honestly, he helped me a lot just to see what I could do my senior year, and also to push me to be better. Because those records were out there for a while, and I had to go beat them. So helped me to push myself every day.
When it comes to just you and your affinity for your love of this sport of distance running, where does that come from? I've heard that you have a great family lineage when it comes to track and field and running and stuff like that. So how much did that influence you? And when did you first start falling in love with distance pursuits?
Yeah, I first started to really like running for what it is. My junior year, I started my junior year, I began trail running with my uncles. And I did a lot of trail running that summer, and that was kind of what really made me realize that you can like running for other things besides winning medals and running fast. And so that's kind of what got me to like the sport for what it is, rather than just running around the track. And then I had a bunch of success, which obviously helps to fuel the love I have for the sport. But yeah, I say it definitely started it started in the trails, and yeah.
You mentioned Weston Brown's influence on you. You mentioned your coach as well. Is Casey Germain your distance coach there? Who's been the distance coach?
Yeah, it's Casey Germain, Ellie Reynolds, yeah.
It's such a great coaching that you guys have there. Both I am, both gals both have great coaching staffs, a bunch of former D1 athletes and career runners. So how much have they helped you just in terms of your honing your training regimen and getting you to get such low times?
Yeah, I would not be where I am today without them. But I think that everyone on my team and everyone who's ran with them would agree with me. They're the training plan that we have for both cross country and track is super straightforward and super smart, and everything is designed to make us the best runners possible. And yeah, I fully trust what Casey's helping me to do, whether it's race plan or just training in general. And I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today without him. So, yeah, they're great coaches, and they've had lots of super great athletes over the years. I mean, they've had Duncan Hamilton, Chase Deckwall, Weston Brown. I mean, yeah, all that is credited to the coaching. It's not coaching, it's coaching.
No doubt. The deal you're running on is now ESPN Radio. Take us back to this last week. You get right at that 4-minute mile mark. I've seen 3:59:26. I've also seen 4 minutes and some change. Either way, ridiculous time when it comes to the 1,600 meters. And you were doing it in another elite field with some of the best mile runners in the entire country. So the 4-minute mile is one of the more iconic sort of things in track and field. I think anybody that understands anything about that, they think mile, 4-minute mile, Bannister's 4-minute mile, that everybody's been pursuing that ever since he went sub-4. So for you to get under that time, what did it mean? Just take us through the moment last weekend.
Yeah, so I ran 4 flat, 0.7 for the full mile, and then for 1,500 that does convert to 3:59.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was very bittersweet because I didn't get it, and that's what I was there to do. I was there to break 4. Yeah, it was super. I thought I might have gotten it. When I was crossing the line, I couldn't tell. And then I heard that it was 4 flat, 1.79. I don't know. It's really awesome. I mean, it's really great. I mean, it's definitely a very prestigious number to get under. And I don't love that I'm racing for time all the time. Like I wish racing was a little bit more about place.
Sure.
But that 4 flat barrier at high school is kind of a time barrier that everyone goes for. And I don't know. There were a couple things I did in that race that slowed me down, and I don't know. It wasn't a super great race by me. I didn't execute it super well, but also I have another chance at it in a week and a half here. So I'm hoping to get under 4 still. That's a huge barrier for me to get under. Like honestly, it's a lifelong goal, and to do it in high school would be awesome. So, yeah, I have a chance here in Eugene, Oregon, in a week and a half, and I think it's going to happen. I think if I run the race a little bit smarter, and I think it's going to happen, yeah.
We certainly believe in you. We're rooting you on, and I can't tell you how incredible I think it is. You can run a 4-minute mile when you're only 18 years old. That's the stuff of legend. Anthony Neal joining us here on Nuanez Now. We're up against it. Last question for us. Our senior spotlight has been by McElmurray Holmes. Nathan, the senior there at Roseland High School. On his way to University of Washington. So just tell us about that. What do you love about the pit? What do you think of the opportunity of running for the Huskies next year?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. They have a really great history of middle-distance running. Over the last 2 or 3 years, they haven't lost a national championship in the mile. Like, they've had a guy that has won every single year for the last 2 or 3 years. So just to get to a program like that, they're super deep, they're super strong. And I think they're going to have future Olympians coming here in the summer. I think so. It's going to be really cool to be able to train with some Olympians in the next coming years. But also, they have a really great team coming through. They have a really good coach. He's had a lot of accomplishments himself. He came over from Oregon a couple of years ago. He's super successful as an athlete and as a coach. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a really good experience for me. I think they're gonna push me to become the best athlete I can be, and hopefully that 2028 Los Angeles Olympics is in the cards as well.
Well, we're certainly rooting for you. Congratulations on all your great accomplishments. It's been awesome to follow you. And again, thanks so much for jumping on. I know I never met you in person, but from us here at ESPN Montana, best of luck to you, and keep on going. We'll keep following you. But thanks so much for making some time today.
Yeah, thanks, Colter.
Nathan Neal, our Senior Spotlight, presented by McElmurray Holmes. More on Nuanez Now next.
Fundraising is not always a popular word. Then you throw in some parents who don't really know what to do, it can become really stressful. Vertical Race can do hands-on implementation with any high school sports team to maximize your fundraising efforts. Peter Hamill is an expert in making the process easy and ensuring your team gets the biggest check possible so that your season can go smoothly. The online fundraising abilities of Vertical Race can help provide opportunities for family and friends of your kids to support them from afar. Not everybody can come watch a game, but plenty can contribute to a great cause. To find out how Vertical Race can maximize your money, visit verticalrace.com. Clay McElmurray knows what you can achieve through hard work as an athlete from a small town in Montana. The Troy native grows up to become an All-American safety for the Grizzlies on UM's 95 National Championship team before spending time playing in the NFL. McElmurray has also used those values in his work at McElmurray Homes. Since 2003, McElmurray Homes has helped contract and subcontract some of the Garden City's finest houses. McElmurray Homes is committed to offering quality custom service, quality products, and the best prices without any project. McElmurray Homes is also a proud supporter of high school athletes around the state of Montana. Booking a tee time at the premier golf course in western Montana has never been easier. You can book a tee time and pay ahead of your round online anytime you want to play Canyon River Golf Club. And while you're at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com, you can check out all the other awesome stuff that Canyon River has to offer. Canyon River Golf Club is Montana's preeminent golf community, offering picturesque views, a challenging track in pristine condition, and second-to-none customer service. Visit CanyonRiverGolfClub.com today to book your tee time.
Simon from Craven's Coffee on celebrating 30 years of passion for coffee.
I don't think you can do this 3 decades without having just a really intrinsic passion for the coffee and for everything that it encompasses, for everything from these countries where it is grown to farmers and the farm families and the port staff and the cooperatives and then the export people who tie things in with the mill, who then deal with the importers. What we've always tried to do is keep the minimum number of levels between us and the farmer. We ideally want it to be 4. So it's the farmers going to the exporter and then the importer coming to us. So it's more money for the farmer because you get more money to the farm gate, but also you've got more of a direct relationship. You can start directly trading with them, beneficial for all parties.
Find your favorite Craven's Coffee blends at grocery stores, restaurants, and coffee shops and online at cravenscoffee.com.
Big Sky Autism Project and Heartism Community Center present the Superhero Many Abilities Fun Run and Festival, June 22nd in Stevensville. Walk, run, or roll in the 5K or 1K. There will be food, fun, activities, and lots of family fun. Join in on this fun day, the Superhero Many Abilities Fun Run and Festival, June 22nd at 300 Park Avenue in Stevensville. Visit BigSkyAutismProject.com for more info and to sign up.
Nuanez now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
I won't be round this old town in no town. Roads are looking for the end of that long night.
This is one of my favorite albums of the last 10 years. Well, it's now ESPN Radio. Sturgill Simpson coming to Missoula September 22nd. That's why we're playing Sturgill all day long. Appreciate you tuning in. Missed anything in the show today. Great group of guests. We talked all things NBA Finals with Andrew Houghton. We talked all things Stanley Cup Finals with Mike Anderson. We talked all things college athletics with University of Montana Athletic Director Kent Haslam. We also talked about the great athletes currently in the state of Montana, period, all sports included. Nathan Beal is our senior spotlight. All of it on the Nuanez Now podcast, proudly presented by the M Store, where they're all Grizz all the time, and the Montana State Bookstore. Visit MSUBookstore.org. Tomorrow, the renewal of a fun series, our Where Are They Now series. Christopher Redpath, co-host Jordan Sullivan, ultimately great. Our guest, Walter from Carolyn, checking us on sports. See you then.
I call myself a confident backseat driver. Mom, brakes please. Gotcha. But I'm less confident in the economy.
Same here, buddy.
Thankfully, Les Schwab Tires helps make sure that our safety never takes a backseat, even when we're washing our wallets.
Roll into summer. Save up to $200 instantly on a wide selection of tires and wheels. Les Schwab Tires. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply. Details at leschwab.com/sale.
Get ready, Montana. Place bets on your favorite teams and games, both collegiate and professional, with Sportsbet Montana. With over 500 locations statewide, it's never been easier to get in on the action. Choose from spreads, moneyline, parlays, and more. Excitement? You bet. Action? You bet. Winning? You bet.